And fighting isn't just kind of an unpleasant, painful thing that can cause abscesses. You can also get the transmission of diseases like FIV, so feline immunodeficiency virus, or very often animals will get hit on the road as well, and that can clearly be pretty severe injuries that develop as a result of that, and can be fatal instantly as well. Should you keep your cat indoors at night? Should you even keep them just shut in a small room? Is that going to stress them out too much, or is it actually a really sensible step to take? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's episode.
Welcome to Call the Vet, the show that answers all your dog and cat questions so they can live healthier, happier lives. And here's your host, veterinarian Dr. Alex Avery.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Call the Vet show. So this is episode number 46, and I'm really grateful that you're here sharing your time with me. If we've not met before, then I'm Dr. Alex, and I'm the veterinarian behind ourpetshealth.com, where my aim is simply to help you and your pet live a healthier, happier life. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, and if you're listening to a pet podcast, then why wouldn't you be? Make sure you hit that subscribe button and also share it with your friends and family so that I can help more pets to be as happy and healthy as possible. Now, I've got a few big things to talk about today. So this is actually going to be the last podcast episode of the year. And not just that, it's going to be the last podcast episode until February next year. Certainly the last new one anyway. So I'm taking a break. I'm taking January off. It's summer here in New Zealand and it's the school holidays, and I'm going to be spending time with my family and enjoying the good weather. So I hope you have a fantastic break as well at the start of the year. You know, it's often a time to reset our goals, to take a bit of time with our family, and I hope you have a fantastic time as well. But apart from that, I also want to talk about presents. Now, I do have a present for you, although it's something that has been available for a little while. So if you've not already checked out my free guide to keeping your pet happy, healthy and out of the vet clinic, then you can download that. Like I say, it's completely free at ourpetshealth.com/petcareguide, and I'll also leave a link in the show notes to that. And that's a really valuable thing for you to kind of work your way through, for you to consider some of the questions that it asks, because it runs through the most important things that you need to think about, and actually things that you can do very easily at home without any input from your vet, although some of the things that I talk about do require some veterinary input, but they're very simple steps that you can take to help prevent the most common conditions that our dogs and our cats suffer from. It helps reduce the risk of them developing some really serious diseases, some really expensive diseases, and also reduces the risk of them dying earlier completely unnecessarily. So if that guide sounds like something you'd like to work your way through, just head over to ourpetshealth.com/petcareguide. But anyway, that's it from me with the intro. I'll talk a little bit more about kind of my plans for the podcast next year at the end, but let's get into today's question for now. And the last question of the year was sent in by Marissa, who simply wrote, "Will my cat be okay if I let her sleep in a closed room at night?" So it doesn't sound like too complicated a question, but it's actually one that, there's definitely a number of different things that we need to consider, and people will definitely have their rather strong opinions about this. So what's the answer? What's my take on it? Well, I think, yes, absolutely, your cat will be completely fine in a closed room at night, so long as it's not too hot or cold, so they can have a nice comfortable environment that they're in. Also, cats should always have access to fresh water at all times. Now, cats aren't big drinkers, but it's definitely something that they need to have available so that they don't get dehydrated, and they have that option there. I'd also always recommend having a litter tray available as well. So again, cats will often be able to hold on for long periods of time. They don't typically produce a lot of urine, but if they're shut away, they've got nowhere else to go, and they really need to go, then they're going to get stressed out because they don't have a toilet. They're also going to mess somewhere that you don't want them to go to the toilet, which will cause your stress levels to get high, and it's also going to stress out your cat as well. So fresh water, have a nice clean litter tray, and also have a comfortable bed as well. That's just a little bit of luxury. They'd probably be perfectly happy sleeping on the floor, especially if it's carpeted. But, we like to look after our pets, and a nice comfortable bed certainly isn't too much to ask. Now, with that in mind, we also should think about how many cats we've got. So if you're shutting multiple cats in a very small room, then, stress levels are potentially going to climb. They're going to need to have a number of different litter trays, a number of different water bowls, and whether they're all going to be able to fit in there comfortably and be happy is maybe something, that you really do need to consider. It depends how well your cats get on, if there's any conflict there. And unfortunately, there often is conflict in a multi-cat household. So they'll often tolerate each other, or they'll be, quite comfortable with each other if there are escape routes. But if they're shut in a small place, then that might not be the best thing. It might be that they need to have the run of the house or have a couple of different rooms that they go in. So, that's one thing to think about. Will they be okay? Well, yes, they will. But the other thing is it going to be better for you to keep your cat certainly shut indoors, whether they're in a small room or not, overnight? So yes is the answer. So your cat most likely will be better off by being inside rather than outside at night, if you do have a cat that does go in and out, rather than one who's indoors 100% of the time, because it's typically during the night that cats are more active. They're going to be getting into fights. They're going to be coming across other cats in their neighborhood. Maybe their territories cross as well, and so they're going to fight because of that. If they're not neutered, or if other cats in the area aren't neutered, they're entire males or females that are on heat, then fights are going to be much more likely as well. And fighting isn't just kind of an unpleasant, painful thing that can cause abscesses. You can also get the transmission of diseases like FIV, so feline immunodeficiency virus, or very often animals will get hit on the road as well, and that can clearly be pretty severe injuries that develop as a result of that, and can be fatal instantly as well. So those are things that we need to think about, whether you're going to keep your cat indoors at night. Now, what do I do? Because that's something that I think it's fair enough for you to know. So I don't keep my cats in. We live in a very quiet neighborhood. There's really no traffic on the roads at night. There's the odd car, but I think the risk of them getting, kind of hit on the road is very low. Yes, there are a number of cats. So far in the 3 years that the cats have been with me, they haven't got into any fights. So, hopefully that's not something that they're going to get into. FIV really is not very common in New Zealand, and it's very, very uncommon. And also there's a big playing field kind of around the back of my house. So the cats have got plenty of space to go to and roam and explore without kind of having to cross any major roads or anything like that. So, that's my kind of whole take on the situation. It's definitely something that you need to think about, what's right for your cat, what's right for you, and then based on their, their behavior, their personality, but also their local environment and the risk of diseases in your area as well.
Get your questions answered at callthevet.org.
So what's your take on this situation? Do you keep your cat indoors actually 100% of the time? Do they never go out? Do you keep them in at night? Do you let them have free range and do whatever they please? Much like my cats. I'd be really interested in your thoughts if you head over to the show notes and leave me a comment there. That would be fantastic. Or you can hit me up on social media. So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Links are all on the website there as well. Or the handle is typically Our Pets Health. So at the beginning, I also spoke about Christmas presents, so I hope you're going to jump over to ourpetshealth.com/petcareguide, or the link in the show notes, of course, to download your free guide. But also, if you'd like to give me a present, if it's not too much to ask, I'd appreciate it so much if you could head over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and leave me a review, a 5-star review. It helps more than you can imagine with other people discovering this podcast and knowing that it's something that's worth their time listening to. And that just simply will allow me to help more pets. And if you're not, a member of Apple Podcasts, if you're kind of on the Android system or listening on your desktop or whatever, if you just simply share it with your friends and family, I'd appreciate it more than you can imagine. So the last thing to say is that, yes, that's it for the podcast until February, but don't worry, I'll be back in February with more weekly episodes of the show. I've also got some big plans that I'm thinking about for the podcast into next year, maybe thinking about some interviews, maybe having a message system where you can leave an audio message with your question as well. I think that would be a fantastic addition to the podcast. So there's a number of different things that I'm going to be playing around with while I'm on my supposed break. That's it from me. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas, a fantastic New Year, and I'll see you soon.
You've been listening to Call the Vet. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of the show that answers all of your pet questions.